All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something that is absolutely critical to any business, but it's one of those things that often gets overlooked. It's called working capital. You can think of it as the lifeblood of a company, and honestly, getting this right can be the difference between a business that's thriving and one that's barely hanging on.
So let me just kick things off with a question for you. I want you to really think about this. Can a company that's making a profit, sales are booming, everything looks great on paper, can that company actually go bankrupt? It sounds impossible, doesn't it?
Well, the answer might actually shock you. It's a big yes. It happens way more often than you'd think. And it happens when a business gets trapped in what's called the cash gap. This is like the invisible villain that can bring down even the most successful-looking companies.
So what exactly is this cash gap? At its core, it's that really dangerous stretch of time between when you have to pay out cash for things like inventory and payroll and when you finally get paid by your customers.
So here's the thing you've got to remember. This isn't about profit. It's all about cash flow. I want you to picture it like a relay race. You hand over the baton, that's your cash, to your suppliers and your employees. Then you're just standing there, waiting for your customers to run their lap and hand that baton back to you. The longer that baton is out of your hands, the more trouble you're in.
Okay, so if this gap is the big, scary monster, how do we fight it? Well, first, you've got to see it. You have to be able to measure it. And the tool for that, the industry standard, is called the cash conversion cycle. We'll just call it the CCC. So the CCC, it's basically a stopwatch for your cash. It measures that whole journey, from cash out to cash in, and it gives you a number in days. It's like a flashlight that you can shine into that dark cash gap to see just how wide it is. And your goal, always, is to get that number of days as low as you possibly can.
Okay, now this slide is awesome because it lays out the whole race for us. First, you've got your production cycle. That's how long it takes to actually build and sell your stuff. Then you tack on the collection cycle. That's the time you spend waiting for your customers to pay up. Those two together, that's your operating cycle. But here's the kicker. You also get a little bit of help from your payment cycle. That's the grace period your suppliers give you to pay them. And that gap, that time left over, that is your cash conversion cycle.
All right, enough with the theory, right? Let's get our hands dirty with a real-world example. Here's a quick look at the books for a mid-sized company. We've got all the pieces of the puzzle, what their customers owe them, how much inventory they have on hand, what they owe their suppliers, and some key sales figures. With just this info, we can figure out their entire cash cycle.
First up, the production cycle. We look at their inventory compared to how much it costs them to make their goods, and we find out it only takes them about 4.5 days to turn parts into a product that's been sold. Wow, that's incredibly quick.
But then, the collection cycle. Based on their sales and what they're owed, it takes them on average more than 23 days to actually get the cash in hand after they've made a sale. That is a long time to wait.
And finally, we have the payment cycle. This is the one part that's actually working in their favor. By looking at what they owe their suppliers, we see they get just under 4 days to pay their bills. It helps, but it's a pretty small window of relief. So let's do the math. You take that fast production time, you add that long collection wait, and then you subtract that little bit of breathing room from suppliers, and what do you get? A cash conversion cycle of almost 24 days.
And that number, that 24 days, is the so what moment. Think about it. For almost an entire month, this company is operating in a cash deficit. It's already paid for its materials, but it hasn't been paid by its customers. It has to cover payroll, rent, utilities, everything out of its own pocket for 24 days straight. That is a really tough spot to be in. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. What's the cure? Well, the first lever we can pull is a big one, getting that cash in the door faster. It's all about mastering how you handle your accounts receivable. And it all kicks off with your credit policy. And man, this is a classic tightrope walk. If you have a really lax policy with generous payment terms, sure, you might bring in more customers, but you're also taking on more risk of people paying late or maybe not at all. On the flip side, a strict policy protects you, but you could lose out on sales to a competitor who's a little more flexible. Finding that perfect balance is the name of the game. But it's not just about the rules, right? It's about the tactics. There are some really practical things you can do. Using lockboxes, so check deposits happen faster. Pushing customers towards electronic transfers to cut out mail time. Accepting debit cards for instant cash. And of course, having a clear, consistent, and firm policy for what happens when a bill becomes overdue. Every single day you can shave off this cycle is pure cash in your bank account.
All right, lever number 2, inventory. You got to think of every single box on your shelf as a little pile of cash just sitting there, not doing anything for you. So the mission is to manage that inventory as efficiently as humanly possible.
And yeah, just like with credit, inventory has its own puzzle you have to solve. If you order in big, giant batches, you save on things like delivery fees. Those are your ordering costs. But now you have to pay more to store it all, insure it, and you risk it going bad. Those are your carrying costs. Ordering in small, frequent batches flips that whole equation on its head. The goal is to find that perfect sweet spot right in the middle.
Luckily, some brilliant minds have figured out some genius ways to tackle this. There's the ABC method, where you basically sort your inventory by value and keep a super close eye on the most expensive stuff. There is just-in-time, or JIT, where the dream is to have supplies arrive at the exact moment you need them. And for the math fans, there's even a formula called the economic order quantity that helps you calculate the perfect order size.
Okay, so we've been deep in the weeds with collections and inventory. Let's pull back for a second and ask the big question. Why does all this matter so much? Because obsessing over these little details is really what separates the good businesses from the great ones.
Because it's simple, really. A shorter cash conversion cycle means a healthier, more stable, and ultimately more profitable business. Period. It means you don't need to borrow as much money to run your day-to-day operations, you're less risky, and you have cash ready to go when a great opportunity pops up.
So it all boils down to this, a 3-part game plan. Number 1, collect what you're owed as fast as you can. Number 2, manage your inventory so it turns back into cash lightning fast. And number 3, which is the other side of the coin, strategically stretch out how long you take to pay your own bills. Now this is a powerful one, but you have to be careful. It's about negotiating better terms and using them, not about being a bad partner. Every extra day you get is a day you're using your supplier's cash instead of your own.
And this quote right here, this is the golden rule of working capital. It's such a great reminder that none of this happens in a vacuum. When you push a customer to pay faster, you're squeezing their cash flow. When you take longer to pay a supplier, you're stretching their collection cycle. It's a whole interconnected ecosystem.
And that really is the question I want to leave you with. Now that you've seen how it's done, and you understand just how crucial this number is, do you know yours? How long is your business's cash gap? And more importantly, what's the first thing you can do, starting tomorrow, to make it just a little bit shorter? It's honestly